Hello, I'm Casey Aiken, and this is 21 This Week. Coming up next, is the County Council politicizing police-involved shootings? Emotions run high as Maryland House of Delegates passes physician-assisted suicide bill, but will it pass the Maryland Senate? And if the Mueller investigation delivers a dry hole, are congressional Democrats' investigation of Donald Trump going too far? Stay tuned. Our panel of insiders will give you the story behind the story. We're joined by education activist Cynthia Rubenstein, past president of Progressive Maryland, Elbridge James, secretary of the Maryland Republican Central Committee, Mark Uncapher, and media consultant Jerry Cave. Stay tuned for these stories and more on the next 21 This Week. It's a busy time in the Maryland House of Delegates. There's a flurry of activity going on in both houses of the Maryland General Assembly as the final 30 days of the session looms. We're going to take a look at the legislation that is getting the most attention. Cynthia, on Thursday, after a very emotional day of debate, the House of Delegates voted 74-66 to approve the physician-assisted suicide bill. Now it's going to go to the Senate, where another close vote is expected. While many delegates, like Montgomery County Delegate Eric Lutke, spoke of the desire to end the suffering of loved ones, Delegate Geraldine Valentino Smith observed something different. There is no doubt, she said, that the vulnerable, the elderly, and the disabled will get the clear message we're sending, that dying is a solution like any other. In years to come, this won't be an option. This will be an option will be perceived as a duty to die and save resources, and save others from having to take care of us. What's the right answer?
Well, it's a very, very difficult issue, but a recent poll shows that 6 out of 10 Marylanders support someone's ability to have a physician-assisted suicide. But one of the arguments, the strongest arguments for it, is just passing this because of allowing people the personal agency to end their lives as they want them to end. And there were very powerful and sometimes emotional arguments made in the General Assembly this last week. The big question now is that this has never gotten this far before. It's going on to the Senate. Senator Will Smith is the sponsoring senator. Even if it's a close vote, the biggest mystery is what the governor will do. He can sign it, he can allow it to go into law, he can veto it, and he has not made any indication as to how he feels about it.
But don't you feel, just like the delegates said, that this is a slippery slope towards control over someone, and you're not going to have the option to die in the future? This is a bad precedent.
No, this is personal agency. You make the choice. You have to state 3 times orally and in writing that this is what you want. You can rescind it at any time. And so there are safeguards in this bill.
This is crazy. Look, you are now taking doctors who have the Hippocratic Oath to do no harm to the patient, and you have got a law that is in direct conflict with that. 2/3 of the deaths by firearms in this country are self-inflicted. So if Americans want to go out, they want to go out with a bang. I don't think we need to do anything.
I've seen people that are in hospice who really are in pain and want to have a end-of-life option. I unfortunately have suffered that with a loved one, and I watched her suffer.
But in hospice care, they give you palliative care. They give you treatments to ease your pain. So why?
Not in all circumstances. In hospice care, in a particular instance, this patient was not given any life-sustaining nutrient by her request because she wanted to end her life. She wanted to go home that much quicker.
There is ample opportunity in any medicine cabinet if somebody wants to go out. Why do they need to do this law and involve the medical community?
Because they want to do it while they're still compos mentis. And they want to make the decision. They simply need doctor-aided care to do it.
But don't need
there
them.
are 8 states where this has been passed.
Doesn't make it a good idea.
And so the public and people have made the decision that this is something that should be available.
Mark,
But it's
quickly.
worth noting that the AMA doctors have not supported this. They're not on record as wanting to have this. There's a division within the medical community. But I think, as Jerry mentioned, there's deep reservations about the ethics associated.
You've understated
think-
it, Casey. It's a very slippery slope.
I think it's the morality of it is very questionable. And I understand that I've had a loved one pass away just recently, and I saw the pain that he was in. But there is a way to give him palliative care and to make his last days more comfortable. Let's go on to another subject. Jerry, HB 786, introduced by Delegate Vanessa Atterbury, would require a Maryland resident to obtain a license for shotguns and rifles. It's the so-called long gun law. But law enforcement say that if forced to take guns away from citizens, it would cause a revolt by the citizen and could cost some of them their lives. Wicomico Sheriff Mike Lewis testified, the way the bill is written, it's impossible to comply with. I can't send my deputies out on a suicide mission. But there's 2 sides to this. What's wrong with registering all firearms in Maryland?
So what they're talking about here is confiscating firearms. And the thing is this is not going to do anything to solve the problem. But it is brilliant branding by the Democratic Party. The problem is we have a lot of people in this state get shot and killed with guns. All in Baltimore, run by Democrats for 60 years, populated by Democrats. This law and any other law like it will have absolutely no effect except to pit the police temporarily against the conservatives on this issue. They go around confiscating guns. It is only a matter of time before they get shot,
Well, the law
and
doesn't
then
say
they
they're
will,
gonna confiscate
and
it.
then they will stop doing
They
it.
will confiscate it if it's not licensed. What's
They've
wrong
already
with
had
licensing?
they've already had somebody killed in Howard County. Why are they going to put restrictions on law-abiding people having guns that have nothing to do with the murders? It's time to address the problem. The problem is the Democratic Party has run Baltimore just like other cities, and that's where you have a high
No, Jerry, the
incidence
problem is
of
guns.
murders. No, it
The
isn't.
problem is guns. Why shouldn't guns be licensed?
That's statistically incorrect. The statistic correlation is a lot of Democrats in poverty. If you have a lot of Republicans in poverty, you don't have a high murder rate.
I can't
even if you have
believe
lax
said
gun laws.
That.
No.
Where
It's
does
true.
that come from?
Look at
that
the-
is
all the
completely
cities.
non-fact
Texas.
No,
based. There's
Texas,
no
the state
relationship
of
with the
Texas.
facts.
You go to any jurisdictions where there's high poverty and Republicans are in charge, which generally speaking is going to be a rural area in a state that has lax gun laws.
with a
they
low
do-
density population.
Oh, density schmensity. You have this and you don't have a high murder rate and anybody can get
You-
guns.
We're gonna have
you
to-
may have
Democrats
a higher
are the
suicide
problem.
rate.
Jerry, we're going to move on. Mark, there's another bill getting serious consideration, and it's called the Clean Energy and Jobs Act. It's heavy on grants and subsidies, which one observer said is rife for corruption and crony capitalism. Will this bill advance this year?
The good news is it's not likely to advance because, frankly, the issue is too complicated for the legislators involved, and they may take it off in another year. But the more important point is that the emissions from CO2 in this country have been going down for the last decade. And the reason for that is because of the shift into natural gas. Natural gas generates less in the way of CO2, and that's been a positive development. The irony is that the people, the advocates for this legislation, the increase of renewables, also oppose allowing for more natural gas, more pipelines, certainly fracking here if global warming is an existential crisis, and if we want to reduce the number of CO2s, then let's embrace the transition to natural gas.
All right, Elbridge, real quick. The Montgomery County delegation is pushing a tenants' right bill through the House called the Just Cause Renter Bill. It requires a landlord to give specific reasons for evicting a tenant. But there are lots of bills already online about how to take care of an unscrupulous landlord. Why are we need to pass this bill?
Because some of the advocates have shown a lot of tenants, when they've been told that they are being evicted, do not fight it, don't know how to fight it. And you may be correct that it might be able to be addressed in other ways, but this is another bill that's really a consequence of me knowing why I'm being evicted. The landlord
on.
should tell me. The landlord
Come
should tell
on.
me when he's giving me the eviction notice, you're being evicted because of, and give me a clear definition of what rules I have
Look, they
violated
have to give
that I
you
can.
60 days notice before they can evict you already. That's in Maryland law. You don't think they know why they're being evicted?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. In fact, you have in lower income areas where people do not fight these evictions. And what we're saying, the fact is that, no, they need to be given a better opportunity to know what is wrong and be able to fight it. And also, you're talking about folks that really don't have the time or the expertise to know how to fight something.
Well, I don't think it's going to get passed this year because it's just gotten out of committee. When we come back from this short break, can Montgomery County Police be trusted to investigate police officer-involved shootings? And how will the public react if the Mueller report does not find collusion between the Russia and Trump campaign? Stay tuned. Welcome back. First-term Montgomery County Councilman Will Jawando has a bill before the council that would alter how police-involved shootings are scrutinized. Under the current procedure, an investigation of an officer-involved shooting is not investigated internally by Montgomery County Police, but by a police force from a neighboring jurisdiction, in order to remove the perception that the county police will not act unfairly in such instances. Councilman Jawando's proposal, the Law Enforcement Trust and Transparency Act, as described, doesn't sound very different than the current system. Under the LET Act, when an officer is involved in a death of an individual, at least 2 experienced investigators from an independent law enforcement entity will open an inquiry reviewing the circumstances of the case. But there is one difference. Here, the investigations would be under the supervision of a subcommittee of the county council. Jerry, is the county council just trying to politicize officer-involved shootings?
No, they're trying to make sure that this becomes a more dangerous place. I was having a conversation with a retired FBI officer in New Orleans, and I said, why is the crime in New Orleans so bad? He said, in addition to the obvious, what you have is county council type things like this, over scrutinizing the police. They don't have any latitude to deal with things, and what happens is the police stop doing their jobs. They stop showing up for stuff, and the murder rates go up. New Orleans has the second highest murder rate after Baltimore, and this is one of the factors. The police are afraid of doing their job, and this is one of the results that happens. And this isn't my opinion, this is the opinion of the police.
All right, Elbridge, the issue is trust and transparency with the police force. The Montgomery County Police Force is a good police force. It has a high degree of professionalism. It's not a rogue agency. So why do we need an additional layer of scrutiny? When you involve politicians in a matter like this, it's not a good outcome.
The citizens who elect the politicians have said they need have more information. I, on a regular basis, at least once or twice a month, have met with the police chief and some of his officers. We talk about those incidents. We talk about, in fact, having, in this case, Howard County investigate a police officer shooting. They provided a whole lot of information that I asked them, does the public know this? And they said no. I said, do you not understand? The public is leery of things that are in the dark. They need to have more information. In my communities, in all our communities, we need to have more information about a police shooting or a police incident and why it was justified and how it could show it would be justified.
Without the involvement of the county council.
It hasn't been yet.
I am terrified.
It hasn't been yet.
Look, I am terrified of these yahoos up in Rockville who are just looking for an issue to get in front of the cameras on, trying to get their names involved in this type of activity.
No.
This is based on outcry from the community and people who live in the neighborhood.
There's no outcry from the community.
Want
This is one of the
sunshine.
Jerry, these politicians love to get their name in the newspaper. They're going to politicize this, and they're going to ruin a great police force. I think this is a terrible idea. All right, we got to go on to the next topic. There is a topic about that Evan Glass has proposed a bill that would try to level the disparity of county employees, their salaries. And what it would do would be to not allow the county to review basically what a person was making before they applied for a job. Is that a good idea?
It's an excellent idea. And it's stunning that this has not come up before, and it's taken this long for the disparity to be discovered in our own good government, county government, and hiring practices. So this is a big duh. So of course this should solve some of the problems and the disparities between
But how does it
women
solve the
and
disparity?
you are
because
not
if you're-
allowed to ask for pay stubs when you set salary for someone who is to be hired by the county
What
government.
Cynthia's trying to say is, if you were making less money before and they know it, then they could offer you less money in the future. That's where you're going with this.
But how does that change the disparity in salary between female and male employees?
Because you set the salary based on what the job demands are and the responsibilities, not on, oh, so-and-so made $50,000 and so we're just going to offer him 55 instead of someone. Women.
But all these jobs have a grade and a pay scale that they have to be qualified
why
for.
They have a
in
range.
the Department of
they have
Housing
a range, and that
Department
range
HHS,
allows you to hire people
there's a
at
range.
in that range. And it's been proven that men get paid higher in those ranges than women.
You mean entering employees?
Entering employees.
I mean, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about
Entering
new hires.
employees.
The data
Because
doesn't
once you-
lie.
Thank
Evan
you.
Glass
once you're
discovered
in
the
the
data
system-
in the Health and Human Services Department. Out of 13 employees at the same level, some with varying levels of experience, but there were women with more experience who were making less
Hired at the
than the
same-
one man.
This is
in
all
the
based on
department.
opinion and
But
not
hired at the
science.
same-
No,
No,
it's
it is hard
data.
science,
At the
Jerry.
same
It
time.
is
Went
hard
through
science.
the data. Yes, there were women who had more experience and had been there longer who were making less than the one man. And that was one example that was brought forth.
You know, this is a dangerous topic because experience alone doesn't mean you're a qualified employee. You may have less experience, but be more qualified. It's not just a matter of number of years you've been in service. It may be education.
No, but
it may,
we're
there are
talking
other
about
factors.
women being asked to submit pay stubs.
Men are asked to submit pay stubs too, right?
And women are historically, and it is why there is such
It's continued
there's
discrimination.
a gold mine
In
of
fact,
data
by the pay
out
stub,
there
by asking for the pay stub,
that
that shows you were discriminated on this previous job. I have now a right to discriminate you on this job. Because in fact, the male comes in at a higher
You all
wage.
need to read Thomas Sowell on this.
I mean,
he
if-
has dealt with this.
Mark, you got
in
anything to add?
detail.
Because we got.
I think Jerry's got the last point. I mean, the data here is a government agency that is making this issue. I'm not sure that having the pay stub is necessarily going to address that over a long-term basis.
I don't think so either. Let's go on to our last topic, and this one is always a touchstone here. After nearly 2 years in the Russian collusion investigation of Special Counsel Robert Mueller, there's a growing sense on the part of both political parties that what disgraced FBI agent Peter Strzok wrote to his lover Lisa Page in May of 2017 was correct. In that text message, Strzok stated that he was reluctant to join the Mueller probe and leave his senior FBI position because he feared there's no big there. So after 24 months of using some of the most awesome surveillance powers afforded to U.S. intelligence and the FBI, Robert Mueller still cannot make a case connecting Trump or his campaign to Russia's election meddling. Elbridge, the political turmoil over the past 2.5 years since Donald Trump's surprising defeat of Hillary Clinton has caused great harm to our society and great divisiveness. If Mueller's report is unable to make a link between Trump and Russia, shouldn't that be the end of it?
No. The fact that, in fact, they have convicted people that have been affiliated with the campaign
Have they
and
they convicted him for collusion with Russia? Let's if they
Manafort.
can't,
Manafort.
Nothing to do with the
if they
campaign.
Manafort. All right.
The issue is
the Russian
collusion
tower,
with Russia.
The Russian
Have
Trump
they,
tower.
This
This issue is not over with yet. This issue is not over with. You have the FBI in the southern New York district. They're bringing charges.
That has nothing to do with the Russian
already been
this is
said.
the week when Nadler said that he's unleashing all these subpoenas and what have you. This is the week that the House Democrats gave up on using Russian collusion as a grounds for impeachment and decided they needed to go in a different direction.
Mark, I want to go follow up with you on this, because this week, after the subpoenas were issued, Professor Alan Dershowitz said that the purpose of Congress oversight is to pass legislation, not to be another investigatory body. Is he right?
He's right, but here's I think one of the bottom
when the
lines.
Republicans
No,
were
but
there,
here,
no.
listen, I think it's inevitable that the House Democrat will be, the pressure will be such that they will have to vote, they will politically see a need to impeach the president. However, because the American public will see this as simply a political partisan act of which there's really no criminal activity, it will go over to the Senate, in which there was no way there will be 2/3 of the vote. And the American public will make a decision as to whether or not
Elbridge,
it was
you gotta run.
justified.
Elbridge, 10 seconds.
Not all of us Democrats see impeachment as the end game. We see bringing truth about how corrupt this president is and letting the American public decide in the next election. And
Thank
that's
you.
what has not happened before.
Thank you, Elbridge. That is the end game. That's the end of the segment. Stay tuned for parting shots when we come back from this short break. And welcome back. Now with parting shots, Mark Uncapher.
This week, the Gonzales poll came out on that pressing issue of whether or not to start school before Labor Day. And it turns out the majority of Marylanders support the governor's position of having it start after Labor Day. So I say, if we're going to have to settle this issue, let's have a referendum and let the public decide.
Thank you, Mark. Elbridge James, your parting shot.
This week I noticed that those on minimum wage can't afford to live anywhere in the United States. It is said that rental housing takes from $19 an hour to $22 an hour of a salary to afford housing in these United States, in all states. In West Virginia, it's $14. So if you're on minimum wage, you better have 2 or 3 people wanting to move in. We talk about $15 an hour. Well, on the flip side of it, people need to have money so they can afford to live in these United States. We need to come up with a better solution.
Thank you, Elbridge. Cynthia Rubenstein, your parting shot.
Montgomery County is going to make a major investment in early care and early education for 0 to 5, $8 million, and it will help another 600 children get into early care and daycare and early education situations. It will help people enter daycare and early education, and it will yield benefits in the school system. Kids will be ready for kindergarten.
Thank you, Cynthia. And Jerry Cave, your special appearance, parting shot.
Casey, with all the sincerity I still possess, which is not a great deal, I want to thank you for having me on this show. Now, what you all don't know is that Casey often gives me a hard time about having a tie. It's rumpled, it's not good.
Stained.
And it has so much food on it, he wants the recipe. So what I have brought back from you from the Mardi Gras is a Mardi Gras tie. Now I have this tie for you, but since you make a comment about recipe, I want you to know I dipped this in cold beer, smeared on a little king cake, some beignets, but we have this fresh from the Mardi Gras for you, my brother.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate it. And I know this is a treasure that I will treasure.
But Nancy won't let you
I think
wear it.
we can all agree that of all the gifts you've ever received, that is the most recent.
Just about, Jerry, just about. Now, I want to take a personal moment for a second. The other day, I had a butt call from the sister of a friend of mine who passed away last November. It was so wonderful to reconnect with her. I've been afraid to call her out of sympathy for the loss that she received. And just to have that, innocuous moment, it wasn't intentional, made my day, and I also know it made hers. So, life gives you some special moments every once in a while. Technology may give you a special moment once in a while. And that's what happened to me this week, and it was a wonderful thing. So for the panel, I want to thank everybody for being here. We had great debate, great lively debate. I hope the audience enjoyed it. Tune in each and every week to Montgomery County's hardest hitting political talk show. I'm Casey Aiken.